Hello again, everybody. This is Harrison Reed, and I'm here to teach you the trombone. Today, I'm going to be talking about comeback chops, and I'm not talking about, I haven't played for 30 years, how do I get back into playing the trombone? I have no experience with that. I can't help you. But I have a lot of experience, and recently, a week of experience of not practicing and having to come back and get back into playing the horn after a week off. I have a good excuse. I had to take a school that meant I couldn't have my trombone with me, so I wasn't able to practice. But it could be that you went home for Christmas, you ate all of the cake and the glutens, and you didn't practice any of the notes that you need to practice. And now you're back at college or wherever, and your teacher, or maybe not your teacher, just yourself, maybe you're holding yourself accountable. You have pieces that you were working on that you feel like you can just jump right back into, and I'm here to tell you today to slow down and just take it easy on your first day back after a week. There's some strategies I'm going to talk about today, and then maybe demonstrate some of this stuff. Honestly, I haven't played in a week, so you may hear some bad notes today. You may hear some good notes. I hope you hear the later. But anyways, here we go. Comeback chops. So the first thing, when we get out our trombone and we're ready to practice after a week off, resist the urge to pull out the last piece that you're working on, or the last etude or method book. Don't worry about that right now. I want you to first find the best space that you can practice in. Especially for college students, you often have a choice, or maybe you have to be sneaky about it, but usually you have these tiny practice rooms that are sealed off so that sound can't escape, but really don't sound that good. But you might be able to sneak into the recital hall, which usually, in most colleges, the recital hall sounds great. Why is that important? Well, teachers are notorious for saying, oh yeah, you need to practice in the smallest room possible so you can hear all of the articulations and really focus on everything that's going wrong. Well, coming back from a week off, you want to focus on what's sounding right still and what sounds good. I don't believe that a small practice room gives you the feedback, especially the audio feedback that you need to really be objective and to really focus on the things that you can work on your first day back. A small practice room is, sure, it makes the articulation sound horrible. I don't think that's what you need to focus on your first day back. You want to focus on your sound. You want to focus on how the instrument feels, not just to play, but it almost will play, will play back on you. I'm a big proponent of looking for the feedback from the horn and the resistance in the horn. If you come back from a week off from playing and your first couple notes, you're like, oh, my chops feel bad. Nothing's working, and you kind of will get into a downward spiral. A lot of people will just keep trying to play stuff that's too high, too difficult, too many articulations, and they'll lose sight of, guess what, man? This is your first day back after a week or 2 weeks of not playing. So take a breather. All right, I'm going to shut up for a little bit. Here's the first thing that I would do, pulling the case out, and it is honestly the first thing I'm doing, pulling my horn out after a week of not practicing. Starting in third position, I ask myself, how's my A flat today? Here we go. And before I get critical, before I think about, oh, there was a weird waver in there and I didn't like that first articulation, I'm going to think about, that felt great. I haven't played in a week, and that was my first note back, and it really did. It felt good. So, well, let's do it again. We'll play one more A flat, and we'll feel good about it. And Also, that's the great thing about having chosen a room that sounds good is I think it sounds good. So I'm proud of myself. A week off for not playing, I could still play an A flat. But before we get objective and start criticizing what we're playing, let's move through a couple easy exercises just to get the blood flowing back to our face, to keep the focus off of tension and corners and all this stuff. Just focus on blowing air with a nice, easy quality, and we're going to play low register, and we're going to use the trigger and just do some easy exercises between this partial and the partial below it on the F attachment. I think that these two partials can do so much to build your confidence and get your chops working the way that they should after a week or two off the horn. So something like this. And already my brain's thinking, I'm not happy with the way that those notes are ending. I'm not happy with some of the trigger transitions between them. But I need to consciously tell myself to not worry about that. I want my first practice back from a week off to be productive. And I want to focus on the things that are good. And I think the tone is good. And it feels good. I don't have any tension, and I'm really concentrating on not putting any tension in here. And I've chosen a register that doesn't have tension in it. It shouldn't have tension. If you're feeling it, take a stop. If you feel tension from that after a week off, stop. And take a breath. Let your jaw slack a little bit. And then from that position, with your jaw lower, think about that A flat again. Think about just slow, large quantity of air, but slow. And just bring the horn up to your face. And just breathe. Don't have any tension. All right. We could talk about that for a long time, but I want to move on. What will be the next thing to get my comeback chops after a week off that I would be focusing on? I believe that more so than the corners, more so than the embouchure, and in some ways more so than the air, the position of your tongue inside your oral cavity and how that gives a quality to the air that you're using in your instrument is very important. So the next thing I'm going to do, not with a metronome or anything, I'm just going to do some easy legato articulations. Now what that does is, on these first couple notes that I've played, I played and then my tongue went into, and I was moving my tongue around to get where everything felt normal. And I could feel just enough resistance in the horn, just enough resistance at my face, and everything was blooming. And after a week off, even just a week, it did feel like, wow, I don't remember quite where that needs to go. So I bet you that my physiology actually does remember. Maybe my brain might have forgotten, but my physiology probably remembers. So if we choose a note and we use a legato tongue and we re-articulate on that note, and we re-articulate on that note, and we re-articulate on that note, our tongue will more than likely remember exactly where it needs to go to have that note sound perfectly in tune and right in the center of the slot. So let us focus on using a legato tongue, playing a pitch over and over again a few times, and not focusing on tension, not focusing on what our lips are doing, but focusing on where our tongue is returning to. We'll do that on a middle F. Now I can feel, each time I went through that, small changes in my physiology, small changes in where my jaw was, small changes from iteration to iteration of where my tongue returned to. And that's my body remembering what it needs to do. So I think that's a good thing. I want more of that. So I'm going to work through some more notes and continue doing that. With a focus on only that, my body needs to remember what it did. And what it was just remembering how it did no problem 2 weeks ago. That somehow now that I'm back and my chops feel weird, it forgot. So don't sweat what doesn't sound good. Just focus on what you can do in this one exercise, and that is tongue position after an articulation. We'll work down. Little changes on each iteration, small adjustments, and I can feel each tweak is a little bit better. It's just a matter of getting your body to just automatically do that every time. Now, for that one, something didn't feel right, it didn't slot. That wasn't in the middle of the slot. So if you can objectively identify what you think went wrong, I didn't come in the center of the slot on there. Focus on that note for just a little bit. That was a D. And then really think critically about what small changes you did to make that sound better. Now, I felt on that, my lower jaw moved a little bit further out, a little bit further up, and I could feel the horn angle coming up a little bit. That's not the change that you need to make for you. Everybody's gonna approach these notes differently because their physiology is different. But that is important data for me to know about Harrison Reed right now. I need to know that about me. Those first three notes, F, E flat, felt great. The D didn't. What changed? Oh, I moved my jaw out a little bit, moved it up a little bit, and that kind of changed how the air was going into the mouthpiece. Let's embrace that. Let's focus on that and play the D again. And I just heard I felt another change, and that is in my face. And this is the number one thing that we need to fight on our first day back is tension. I have just realized that my corners are stretching over my teeth, especially where our canines are. Those corners are almost on the sides of my canines. And when I consciously tried to move those forward and loosen up my jaw a little bit, no tension, just moving that embouchure out in front of my teeth a little bit, that note opened up quite a bit. So I know this always is a struggle for me when I'm coming back after a week of not playing, is my embouchure is too tight. And I would guess that's probably the number one problem for anyone trying to come back after a week. So that is the one huge item that I'm going to focus on today and have at the forefront of my thoughts. So one more time, D. getting better. Okay, sometimes we can get caught up in these circular thoughts or focusing too much on one thing. So it's important on your day back, you play through some of these things, you think critically about them, you make some small minor adjustments, and then you need to flush your brain. So I'm going to just play something random that has nothing to do with what I was just doing, just to reset my brain. That felt good. Yeah, so I played something, I think we got into the Rimsky-Korsakov trombone concerto there a little bit. But yeah, it felt good. So let's, keeping that positive feeling, we'll play a D again. I can feel my chops. Every time it gets better, loosening up and moving in front of those canines a little bit. Yeah, okay, moving on. Completely new thing to think about on your comeback day. Resist the urge to grab your old sheet music and play what you're working on. Resist the urge to play high stuff that, to test, are my chops really gone? Yeah, they probably are. And if you're gonna focus this first day on just playing the highest notes that you can play, guess what? You're gonna have another week or 2 weeks of suffering. So the next exercise I want you to focus on, and again, this exercise is geared absolutely towards keeping your embouchure relatively loose and thinking about how the tongue and the air work in conjunction to move through different notes, is glisses. Starting on a D above middle B flat. For whatever reason, I find that D partial, to be really useful for just using your tongue to get the resistance and the feedback from the horn to just glisten, or glimmer. It's like shimmering. Let's do a gliss on a D to a C and back to a D, and really focus on, does my tongue arch a little bit more as we go through? Does it move forward and back? What is going on? What isn't going on? What feels good? What doesn't feel good? But to try to just get the best, most relaxed sound I can. I can feel just slightly, my tongue is moving just ever so slightly between those, and the amount of space in my oral cavity and the shape of that is changing ever so slightly, and I want to embrace that. I don't want to fight that. I want to embrace that. One more time, D to C. There's a fun moment in I think it's the Harvest Concerto by Mackey, which does that gliss, and there's just a quality to it that you can hear those upper overtones, especially if your tongue's in the right space, just shimmer. One more time. So that is from that concerto, and it feels good to play those notes in that order like that, and to focus on that gliss, what's my tongue doing, and then to just go down into the lower register and open up again. Everything I'm doing on my comeback day is just about being relaxed. If I chip a note, it's who's gonna see? No one watches my YouTube videos, it's fine. And just really only having good notes and good sound and feeling good. If I chip something or if I'm playing too high, I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna go back and fix it. I'm just gonna stick to what is feeling good right now. So, one more time. That felt great. And then we can go a little further down and keep using that same partial and that gliss and just focus on the air and focus on the tongue and how the horn feels. I'm having connection issues between the mid and the lower register. So let's just go into the lower register. Don't worry about that connection issue. All right, one more time. The gliss, the thing from the Mackie trombone concerto that I like. We'll hit it this time. Yeah. Yep. That's where I want to be right now. That's where I want to be right now. Okay. We're not done yet. This is a gradual process throughout the day. So here's where I probably would take a break. We've been going for about 20 minutes now or so. And yeah, just have a tea, have a coffee, whatever. And get your mind out of it. We just had a bunch of great notes that we just played. And forget about the chip notes. We played some good stuff. When we come back in 30 minutes or whatever to do another 20-minute set, we're gonna come from a place of feeling good. And our body is already primed to remember the fundamentals and the good aspects of our playing and our good habits better now, because we're not panicking and we're not coming from a place of weakness in our playing. This has been kind of a long video. It's an ongoing process. I haven't showed you everything that I'm going to be doing to get back into playing, but I hope that this, brings maybe a little bit of hope and inspiration and gets you back on your feet after a week or two of not practicing. Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it when you watch my videos, and I appreciate the good feedback. Leave a comment down below. Let me know how I could do better. Have a great day.